Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today, we're going to review a signature model that not a lot of people know existed from the early 2010s. This is the Lou Pallo signature Les Paul. And if you know anything about Lou, unfortunately, we lost him last year on October 28th. The very first thing I did after hearing that sad news is I went to Reverb and I bought the only one I could find. And let me tell you, I got lucky that this thing was even there, because I had been looking for one of these for so long. I was kind of waiting out for one at a cheaper price, but this was the occasion. I wanted to honor him and do a review of his guitar. So I paid the big bucks for it. It was located in Japan, and this thing got stuck in customs forever. So here we are, a good half a year later. Let's go ahead and check this guitar out, because it's honestly a pretty darn cool model. But just in case you're not familiar with who Lou Pallo is he played with Les Paul in his band. They were known as Les Paul's Trio or Les Paul and his Trio. He was doing that show with Les Paul at the Iridium every Monday night. Before that, it was in New York City's Fat Tuesdays Club. But Lou himself is known as the man of a million inversions, a million chords. Basically, he was the rhythm guitarist, and he also did some vocals within the band. Every week they would have somebody famous in the audience. Sometimes they would join him on stage. But after Les passed, Lou carried on the tradition of doing the shows. And one of my favorite ones, it's just a mind-boggling experience. Check out the one when Zakk Wylde guest starred. They covered Hendrix's Voodoo Child, but Zakk here just has an acoustic guitar and he's just shredding on it. And Lou's in the back looking a little bit confused, but still going on, doing the best that he can. But anyways, rest in peace, Lou Pallo. It's really sad to me because, you know, Les Paul, Lou, they were a great team, and now we've lost both of those greats. But I do know that Lou was very proud when Gibson contacted him right after Les's passing, and they wanted to give him a signature guitar of his friend's model. So let's go ahead and check out what he designed, because he was really proud of this instrument. So here it is. We get a sweet black top, block inlays, and a Les Paul standard styled headstock. Okay, so now we'll take a look at this over here, and then we flip over to the back, and it's natural. And the reason why I decided to buy this one is it has great wood figuring on the back, not only on the body, but also on the neck. It's not every day you find flame figuring within a mahogany neck, so this is a really killer example of this one. It was described to me as, you know, excellent condition. I'm seeing quite a bit of wear right here, some lacquer delamination. Looks like somebody over-tightened these, but let's not let that take away from this guitar. You'll also notice that this has a rosewood fretboard that you would typically find on a Les Paul, except for it's got the block inlays, so more like a Les Paul custom. And check out our pickup layout here. A Dirty Fingers Humbucker in the bridge and a P90 in the neck. And you'll also notice at the 12th fret you have Lou Pallo's signature on there. But he decided to keep his friend's Les Paul model silkscreen on the headstock. I thought that would have been kind of cool if it would have said Lou Pallo there, but I could see why he wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want to replace your friend on his signature model. But the reason why he spec'd this guitar out like this is he was mainly known for using a black Les Paul custom. So naturally he wanted the black top for that reason, but he always liked those gold tops. And if you ever watch interviews with him, he's always proud of the fact that this was the first time that Gibson ever paired a Dirty Fingers with a P90 pickup. It's the first time, apparently, that they used a natural back with a black top, at least on a Gibson USA guitar. So he kind of paid tribute to the original gold tops, and they only made 400 of these from late 2010 until early 2011. This particular one is number 107. So, to learn a little bit more about this guy, let's go ahead and throw him on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside the Lou Pallo signature, let's go ahead and take a look at these pickups. We honestly don't have anything too fancy going on here. It's just the regular black plastic cover on top of a Gibson P90. But the way that this mounts is they utilize 2 screws and 2 springs on top of each other. They just go through right there, and then they secure into the body using these metal bushings. Sometimes P90s don't have that, they just have foam blocks underneath them. There's many different ways you can mount a P90. But there's something written right here. It's like EN But being a Gibson USA product, this has a short neck tenon. Moving on to the humbucker, it is a Dirty Fingers regular one, not a plus. That's kind of a strange thing, isn't it? A jazz guy wants a Dirty Fingers in the bridge? That does surprise a lot of people. It surprised me. But there's a lot of jazz guys that actually like this pickup. Despite being very hot, apparently it pairs very well with a neck pickup, especially a P90 like this. Now, sometimes in his interviews, he'll say this is the first guitar that utilized this combination. I think what he's talking about is the Dirty Fingers and this, because the first guitar to really popularize this, besides, artist modifications, as far as a huge production run goes of a P90 humbuckered guitar, is the BFG that first started in 2007. So this thing came out towards the end of the first run of that. And in the cavity, it reads LP Lou. I really wish he would have went as far as giving it a mahogany top, harkening back once again to a Les Paul custom, but you can see right here where the maple top joins onto the mahogany body. You can see the difference in wood grain right here. But within the circuit, the bridge pickup reads 15.5 k ohms. Our neck should be about half that. Yep, 7.92. And the middle position, we're getting a 5.24. And there's no fancy electronics on these guys. It's just 2 volumes, 2 tones, no push-pull pots or anything like that. That would have been interesting if he would have split that one, but you can't do that with this stock pickup because it's only a 2 lead conductor. As far as the bridge, it's the regular one of the era here, just PW branded, and the tailpiece is branded Advanced Plating Incorporated. Moving on the rest of the guitar, you can see it's got a few nicks and dings, so it's not a complete collector's grade version if you're looking for something 100% perfect. But I found it kind of interesting. Down here, if you get it in the light just right, you can actually see through to the maple wood grain. Kind of makes it look like finish checking, but that's what that is if you're curious. And it looks like we got a couple of dings right here where the pick guard would be. And it took me cleaning this guitar to realize, hey, this comes stock from the factory without a pick guard. That's another kind of semi-what special feature for a 2011 guitar. And another thing I want to say, this top has a tendency to look like a really, really dark brown color, kind of like oxblood does, a slightly reddish hue. But it's because you've got the natural on the sides, you've got the rosewood colored right here, so I think your eyes just start to naturally blend stuff. But it's a mahogany body with a 2-piece maple top. I believe it's a solid mahogany body. But moving on to our fretboard here, we have a rosewood fretboard, once again with the block acrylic inlays. 12-inch radius, they didn't mess with anything like that. 24 3/4 inch scale, 22 frets with binding up and down the entire neck. There's a good close-up on that. Lou Pallo. And for neck dimensions, I get 1.71 inches at the nut and 2.08 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.87 and 0.96 by the 12th. Moving on to the face of the headstock here, we do have some light damage. You can see some scratches. There is a pretty prominent ding right there. And once again, somebody was over-tightening the tuners here, which caused the lacquer to chip in that area, to bubble right there, which could very easily turn into a chip like that. The best way to cure this is just to refinish the face of the headstock, but then if you do that, people are going to think you're hiding a headstock repair if they ever blacklight test it. So I just suggest leave it alone, because even a black touch-up pen wouldn't do you much good. But the truss rod itself is blank. He didn't want his name on that or anything. He just wanted to hide it somewhere on the guitar, and he felt the 12th fret was perfect for that. Now that we've got it cleaned up and restrung, this is actually quite a really smart looking guitar. But let's go ahead and flip over to the back where this thing truly starts to shine. I just love the side profile view of this thing. But let's go ahead and check out our electronics. Nothing fancy at all. Just 4 Gibson branded pots wired up the way they would normally do. Typical QC of the era. You can see all the splintered wood along the edges due to dull router bits. Gibson really has cleaned up their game lately as far as little stuff like that. I was fully expecting to see a replaced pot or something to have been modified in here, because the volume pot stands a little bit more proud than every single other one of them. I'm not sure if that's a factory error or if it's an artist spec, but I do want you to be aware of it. And you just get a regular 3-way toggle switch in here. As far as condition, I see a few impressions back here. There's a ding there, a ding right here that kind of bubbled up the lacquer. You got a couple of those. So not perfect, not 100% trashed either. But I just love how active this 2-piece mahogany back is. It's got a lot of shining and figuring within it, so it definitely changes colors no matter which way you look at it. I mean, that looks really fantastic right there. Great wood grain all together. And our strap buttons are the regular ones of this era. Along the edges, this thing's looking pretty good, just a couple of light dings. And we do have the thin binding in the cutaway on this one, kind of a 50s throwback. And it's nice not seeing any holes on the edge of this guitar for the pickguard. Looks like we got a couple of dings by the output jack though. Now moving on to the neck, as I kind of showed you, it looks like somebody's strap or something really just chewed up the finish a little bit right here. Went through the clear coat and bubbled a few other areas. Looks like maybe some finish checking right there as well. But don't let that scare you, because the figuring in this neck is just fantastic. I'm so glad I found such a stunning example of this guitar to tribute the man. Now, unfortunately, I'm like 100th of the player that this guy was, so I won't be able to do justice in that department, but at least I could share this beautiful example. Let's go ahead and capture the neck carve. Here's what it looks like at the 1st. Here's what it looks like at the 12th. Definitely a regular C-shaped neck. It's kind of an in-between neck. It's not necessarily 50s or 60s, but you gotta remember, a 50s neck from Gibson USA at this point in time was not like big baseball bat. It was just rounded. So this one's, you know, slightly in between there. I'm just noticing this right here in the lighting right now. You can see a lot of different figuring within the acrylic plastics. So, I mean, if you're going to have acrylic, you might as well have something that has a little bit of shine to it. On the back of the headstock, they numbered which one this was out of 400. This one's 107. That's such a nice touch. Back in this era of Gibson, normally limited editions would be like 400 or so, but this is one of the few that they've actually numbered which one it is. And it's just a nice little touch, you know, for collector standpoints. This one was made on the 40th day of 2011, initial batch, and production number 628. That's just of that entire day, of all the necks that they stamped. That one starts at 500, so it's really like the 129th guitar. And just the regular Gibson Clusen tuners on here. And lastly, this example weighs about 9.5 pounds, 8 pounds, 8.9 ounces. So just to quickly recap what makes this guitar special: unique finish, black top, natural back, unique pickup configuration with a solid mahogany body, whereas most standards at this time would have some sort of major weight relief, block inlays on a standard, and his signature at the 12th fret. So let's go ahead, plug this in, and hear how it sounds. Alright, so as far as clean tones go, this neck pickup is really deep sounding. But that's great for the whole jazzy stuff. And you can also roll that down a little bit if you need it even more jazzy. And the bridge can actually be quite nice when you're doing just regular leads. Very different between the two, so it's a versatile guitar in that aspect, but I think Lou is really onto something, mixing the hot Dirty Fingers with a darker sounding P90. And of course you can also play with the tone positions. But even though he's more of a jazzy guy, let's see if we can Zakk Wylde this one. Quite the nice guitar on distortion as well. Really dynamic. I love the sound of this bridge pickup, but then when you switch back over to that neck position, you can get some really hairy stuff out of it. A nice little riff to demonstrate that's that double stop at the 12th fret. Even the middle position sounds pretty good. I always like the BFGs, so having a more traditional Les Paul standard with this same similar style layout, I definitely enjoyed it. I was surprised just how much I liked playing it distorted, as well as the clean jazzy stuff. Now that we know all about the Lou Pallo signature Les Paul, what are my final thoughts on this thing? I really enjoyed playing this guitar. The tones are definitely within the wheelhouse that I prefer. I know the whole P90 Humbucker look isn't for everyone, but the tones are always fantastic out of these guitars. Now, unfortunately, these are really rare. You hardly ever see them show up on the market. In fact, I have not seen another one show up since I bought this one, what was it, like 6-7 months ago. So if you want one of these, you are going to be searching for a while. But some other alternatives to consider are the original run BFGs. They kind of got a weird, goofy looking top. I think they're kind of cool. Other people might not dig them. But if you don't like the look of those, there was also a Guitar of the Week BFG that had a more finished vibe, very similar to this. Or if you want something even a little bit higher end than this guitar, you want it to be a custom shop made P90 Humbucker, you could always do a made-to-measure program or seek out Collector's Choice number 10, the Tom Scholl's signature Les Paul. But now that I've played this thing, my absolute favorite thing about this, is the side profile view. You can see the black top with the natural back. But you see this right here? You see the exact same thing on the headstock. I never noticed that symmetry that they've got going on. The entire front of the guitar, body and headstock, is black, and then you get the natural back. It looks so great when you're playing it like this, because you can just see all that natural wood grain, and that's what I love in guitars. So having a mix between the ebony finish and the natural back, it's definitely interesting. And just take a look at this dancing wood figuring, not only on the back, but that's right, my friends, even on the neck. So would I buy another one of these? Totally. Definitely would. But they are kind of collector's items, so they're hard to find. So thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.